when you start a brand and your goal is to like scale up a product business, to not just jump into like Facebook ads right away, and actually go and like focus on the marketing efforts and like the content and the brand. But that, in my opinion, is very difficult to do when you're like, well, shit, like it's tough to pivot when I've only gotten like 1 or 2 sales today. I'm like, I'm not getting enough feedback from what I really need. So can you explain what you mean by that and why you think, if you think that's still like a good idea?
Yeah. Yeah. So the first question, of just kind of like top line sales. The first year we did a little over 300 grand. So it was actually pretty good. Like I remember I saw, like I sat down with an accountant when I started just to make sure I wasn't going to get like go to jail for some like tax thing or whatever. He's like, oh, you're going to have to remit in our country, like GST, which are like our national tax, if you make over 30 grand in 4 consecutive quarters. And I remember just like thinking and looking at it and be like, buddy, there's not a chance in hell I'm selling $30,000 worth of socks. Like, are you nuts? To me, that was like $300 million at that time, right? I was in school debt. I was like a broke athlete for the most part. And so 30 grand was like life-changing money, you know? And so surely enough though, like that was the first lesson in not thinking big enough, because we 10x'd it that year and did like 350 grand. And then the next year we doubled, we did a little over 800 grand. And then we just kept doubling. And so, you know, now current day, we're like multi 8 figures a year. So every year we just kept doubling. And to your point, yeah, like numbers are small until they're not. And that's the part of being patient too, right? It's like if you're doubling, it's like, okay, 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16, 16 to 32. It starts to get really big, right? But like those first chunks of doubling are like really small. They don't feel like big steps, but they're extremely important, because I always say like those steps are like the foundation, and you can't build floors in a building with a really shaky foundation. And that's why I'm really like a big believer in kind of growing slow in the start and actually focusing on who your actual customers are. So when you do want to turn on the actual like acquisition engine and start to like invest into Facebook or whatever, you're targeting the right people. You know your messaging, you have feedback, like you can actually maximize your return on ad spend or your ROI in different marketing efforts. So yeah, top line revenue started at 300K and then just started doubling until we got into the 8 figures. And yeah, now we're shooting for that $100 million year, probably in the next 2 to 3 years is the goal. I'm being ambitious, but I think we can do it.